And we are live. Welcome, friends, to PC Journey. I'm your host, DPZ. And, I think it's every dude's dream to be able to share their hobby with their lovely wife. I know that my wife is confused by what I do, curious about how much I spend. But I'm very lucky. We're all very lucky to have Reckless Cards on today and to have you both here as a team, family unit here, bringing some great information, talking about your PC, things that you're excited about. So thank you so much. It's part of Luca Nation Network. And let's kick it off. Let's introduce yourselves individually and then talk about what brought the two of you, and more importantly, how the two of you together got into this hobby, because I find that interesting. I find that fascinating. How that, just walk me through that.
Yeah, so Courtney was a young lady and she was collecting cards and she was lusting after a man that would come into her life and also enjoy collecting cards. And I approached her and, the rest is history.
He showed me his PC and it was love at first sight.
Yeah, as Cage would say, I just whipped out my PC. I put it on the table and she said, "That's a mighty fine PC. It's not the biggest PC. It's not the most expensive PC, but we can work with it." So many years later, here we are. And we play with my PC quite a bit, as evidenced by 4 children.
Yes, and mine as well.
Yeah, definitely your PC.
Wow. Okay, we're going there right away. All right, here we go. Put the kids to bed.
We've collected since we were kids. Jeremy and I have known each other since high school. But separately, before we knew each other, we collected cards. I collected with my dad when I was a kid, and he and I continued on. And Jeremy collected of his own accord because the town we grew up in had a couple little hobby shops in it. And so, I mean, that's it. It's nothing super exciting, I guess.
Well, that's exciting.
We found, though, as maybe in the last 4 years, as our children have grown, an unintended consequence of being in the hobby was some of the skills that are needed to be successful and to enjoy it in the way we operate are also skills that lend themselves to real life that our children will use elsewhere. And also, we got 4 kids, and very rarely do our peers, let's say in our neighborhood, can get together with all their kids and do an activity where everybody has a good time.
Right.
We go and do shows, and our kids gladly go with us, and we get to travel the Midwest, go to shows, spend time with each other, teach them about interacting with people, teach them about supply and demand, money, relationships. And so these are things that they'll use later in life, whether it's cards or not. Plus, we really value the relationships. And I know it sounds corny, and I didn't quite get that many years ago. I'm like, I just wanted to buy and sell cards. But a lot of our close friends in this space are people who also collect cards. And so it's really a piece of cardboard that brought us together.
It is. It's exciting. It's fun. And it's something that we can all do, but that still kind of shows our individual personalities. My son's really into football cards. He's got a pretty epic David Montgomery collection. We're from Chicago.
Right.
We have Bears. He likes the Bears, obviously. And my daughter's really into swimming, so she collects Michael Phelps cards. And I recently have gotten really into collecting Stranger Things cards because we're pretty passionate about the show, and it's been really fun. And then the 2 little girls really like the Marvel cards and Pokemon. So it's something where we can all have our do something together, but with our own personalities, where it's not trying to fit everyone into one box. So they can enjoy it. They learn a lot from it. We travel, and the business, the card stuff is starting to pay for itself. So we're taking these trips on a business together as family.
Nice. So it truly is. It feels like a family affair, a family activity, something that's shared with everybody, and you all get to do it together. And then you have these relationships with people externally, your friends, they're also involved and they're enjoy the same hobby. So that's got to be exciting to have all of that, all those connections. And it's a nice departure too. It feels like it's a nice departure from real life when you have all these other responsibilities, things, but you get to do this is fun. You have these people in this community. You talked about that a second ago. That makes it exciting and fun, and gives you that escape, so to speak.
Well, I think the key word to us is fun, because we have found once or twice in the last couple of years where it really wasn't fun. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about it is we have the ability just to turn it off.
Yeah.
We might just go on hiatus and say, you know what, we're going to get off social media. We're not involved in, we don't judge people. Everybody has the ability to operate in the space how they want. How I operate's unique to me. It's different from you. It's different from,
Me.
let's say, Manny or Courtney or some of the other people. Hell, even Cage and Andrew operate in the space differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we can appreciate and respect how others do it. So when it gets to the point where it's not fun, we just, take a time out and go do something else.
Yeah.
Interesting. Can I dig into that a little bit more?
Sure.
Talk to me about what made it not fun. Like, give me some examples of what made you want to turn it off.
I can with the kids, our life. Sometimes we're so wrapped up in making sure because we're doing the hobby night school. I have the TikTok, which has gotten I have a lot of followers on TikTok making hobby content, and when it gets to the point where I feel like it isn't an escape and I have no choice but to do this, or oh, I'm worried about how, if people are losing interest in what we're doing. And I don't this is fun for me. I enjoy collecting and I don't want it to feel like it's my job.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I want it to be a good time. And then when we do have 4 kids, and for instance, September, almost the whole month we were disengaged because the kids started school.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 4 kids starting in school at 4 different schools this year.
Wow.
So I was, and Jeremy works a full-time job, and September's really ramping up the busy time for him.
Mm-hmm.
So with the 2 of us just really busy, it felt like too much pressure to worry about the card stuff for that month. And I just was I'm not. And what was really the best part about that was after 2 weeks of not posting, really, we had people messaging us hey, are you guys okay? Do you need, we haven't seen you. Is everything all right? Is there anything we can do? And we were fine. We were just super busy.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we've built up these relationships where people cared that they weren't hearing from us or seeing us, that was kind of what I was okay, this is why we do this. This is so much fun. We are enjoying these people. They enjoy us. We're having, we've created these relationships, and that kind of spurred us back into the momentum when things calmed down of getting back out there and doing it again.
I would say for me, when it became not fun, is we had gotten accepted into Whatnot before Whatnot got really big. And so we tried our hand at breaking. It was wildly successful in the fact that we were building an audience, a platform. We found our niche on Whatnot, where we were doing baseball, we were doing soccer, we were doing it at different times. We were making good money. It was a lot of work, but something didn't sit right with me. And this is not a knock at Whatnot or the people that utilize the platform, but the amount of money that was just being thrown around made us feel uncomfortable. Okay. We have friends who operate in the hobby space that had gone into debt. And I felt something inside of me felt like I was feeding something that didn't sit right.
Yeah.
So taking a step back, and just because something's available or you can make money on it doesn't mean that it's always right. And that's just for us. And so around that point in time, it was because I don't want to say pressure, but there's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses in this hobby. And just because we were on Whatnot, just because we had allocation or the ability to access allocation, it was kind of a weird spot for us that it just made sense just to stop back. We're not doing this to make money. We're just doing this to have fun and to get cool cards that we like. And if it's able to sustain itself, even better. But I would say for me at that point in time, it really wasn't fun. And it made me a little uneasy, the fact that people were getting on and spending money that they probably didn't have.
On things where they weren't getting the returns. I don't want to sell somebody something where they're not getting the return. Not even when you're doing breaks sometimes, and that's what we were doing. And someone's bidding up a pack to $200, and the whole hobby box was $220. It made me feel nauseous. We would be telling people don't bid on this. This, you're not going to get your money back out of this. There's very slim chances. And I think it was the hobby was flooded with a lot of people who didn't know better.
Mm-hmm.
They all, were just spending their money. It made me uncomfortable. And I agree with you. That too was not very fun.
Yeah, if there's anything we could bring up, these are very interesting topics and conversations. It's stuff I'm going to cover later in other episodes. Is just the providential mindset financially for folks. course, I'm a banker, so I'm going to always be thinking as conservatively as possible. But I'm not. We're all subject to it. I probably spent more money than I should have, and some of it sits on revolving credit. I mean, I can always pay it off at any moment. That's always the key, right? But I let it sit there because I want it to be a reminder of what I've spent. So I know I have to pare that down. I have to attack that and pay it off with maybe money you're not buying a card with, or some extra money with different endeavors to be responsible for. It's not my family's responsibility. It's not my wife's responsibility. It's my responsibility. So, of course, you have cards to sell. And that brings up a very interesting topic that, we don't talk a lot about it. It's selling on eBay. For 3 years, I've sold on eBay. It's mostly just to sell to buy something else, create capital, buy something else. And I, most of the time, sell at a loss because I want to color up, move into something bigger and better. And, overall, I've kept track of everything, and my ROI is still 25% on everything I've dipped and dived out of and bought and gotten into and spent more and more money in these bigger cards. But from, a tax perspective, you don't want to be claiming losses every single year because that's not good either. So, this is the first year I'm probably gonna have to take a hit on that, even though I lost money. So, and it kind of makes you think about how do we want to approach this? If you're not really trying to be a business, if you're just a hobbyist, you're just trying to, I think it's a touch of, you want to get a tax professional. I know there's a show where someone's talking about that, but it kind of makes you think about people spending so much money and going into debt and buying this and trying to flip it. And then it becomes, okay, are we really just trying to flip things? Because I'm trying to flip the script and turn it back around. No pun intended, is to focus it on the collector. Where does it end up? Who ends up with the product at the end of the day? Because now you paid for that. That's an asset. Don't get me wrong. You can always sell it to buy something else, and it's tempting to do so, but you just can't keep going through that cycle. I feel like, how do you?
It's like a pyramid, because at some point it's not going anywhere.
You got to do something with it. And I'm at that point this year. I'm like, I just got to suck it up and just take care of it and do it right, and then move on. But then next year, I don't want to sell anything on eBay. So, I'm a banker. So when it comes to cash, don't talk to me about cash and then trying to, layer it in there with deposits because you don't want a CTR to show up. You don't want to do that. And I'm not saying that to say to not do it. I'm saying that you shouldn't do it. So it just presents a very interesting conversation.
So what we've done, and like part of the thing with Hobby Night School, was just sharing it. We're fortunate enough that we can afford to take some chances and make some mistakes. And we want to share it, like learn from our mistakes, or this is what's worked for us. But I too, in my previous life, with private equity, everything was about cash flow. So our hobby experience sometimes mirrors a little bit of what I'm dealing with in real life and the way we operate. Right. And so we've been very transparent about, we buy in the off season. It's not sexy. Well, right now everybody's buying football cards, basketball, World Cup cards. We've been focused on baseball.
We're selling,
and it's not sexy to buy O'Neal Cruz right now. But we all know that when spring training comes and he hits a fastball 118 miles per hour off the bat, the buzz will be there. And then also we've learned from previously, now is not the time to sell because the holidays. And so
people are broke.
We're having a cash reserve so we can buy these bulk lots. So we try to share that. And I think I wish there was more of an emphasis on fiscal responsibility. Exactly. And I know that doesn't sound sexy, but for the longevity and having a sustainable, great time, I think it's imperative, because those who learn it are going to be here that much longer and be able to do more.
And it ties back to what you said at the very beginning, where you guys felt nauseous. You felt wrong. So it is coming full circle with that. I think it's because these conversations need to happen. It's good. It sounds like you're having them, which is great. You can even hear it from me. I'm like, okay, I feel like I got my stuff together, but I'm also kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? I think 2023 and beyond, I'm going to claim it as hobby if I sell anything, because that's just how I'm going to have to do it, because I'm not going to be keeping track of everything. It's just really not a business. I'm just buying to sell and buying to buy. Or was it a business? I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. But I think it's important for people to move forward into this hobby if you're going to collect and keep things too, right?
Correct. And I would encourage anybody to talk to their tax.
Of course.
Because for us, for the reckless household, it made sense to establish a business and claim certain things, whether it's fuel, electricity, vehicle, stuff.
All that.
Like the hotel for the national, now we have an LLC, all of that, like meals, because we're there for business. And so it makes it it makes it more sustainable and more
Mhm.
affordable for us to do what we want to do in the space. And again,
Correct.
we don't want to give tax advice because
Well, you're not giving tax advice. I think what you're doing is you're saying,
personally.
yeah, be mindful of these things. Consult your tax professional because they're going to help you.
And I know it seems daunting, and somebody's like, "Well, I don't know. I'm not that smart." I promise you, have the free consultation, talk it through. They'll guide you, and you'll be so happy after you go through it a couple times that you did it.
You'll feel better. We felt better.
Good.
I was like, because we've started, we're moving a lot,
Yeah.
and we buy just as much as we sell. But if you look at like just sales, it looks like we have like tons of money, but it's like the same money that's just getting repeated over. Like you take $1,000 and you buy something for $1,000, and then you sell something for $1,000, and you buy something for $1,000, and you do that repeatedly, 50 times. It looks like you sold $50,000, but it's still that same original $1,000.
Your cost basis, yeah, it's cash message versus accrual. So many things. So let's talk to me a little bit about your PC. So you obviously buy and sell, and it's a business. It's that's just part of what you do with hobby. And I think I'll make this very clear. It's not a show to say if you're doing this or that or you're not doing it right. It's just focusing on what we're keeping, right? Because that's what's fun. That's what keeps us engaged, and it's fun to buy that PC item. Things that, like I said, when it ends up in your hands and that's the last place it sits, at least that's something really need to liquidate. What are those cards for you? Who do you PC? Who do you buy to keep?
So truly our best cards that mean the most to us really don't have any value.
They don't.
It might have been like a Kobe Bryant card that we found on a road trip down to Georgia when we stopped, and Courtney said, "Hey, let's go to this flea market." That I thought she was absolutely, batshit crazy. Excuse my language. I'm not going to a flea market. And then the amount of gold that we found just sitting there. So there's some cards like that. She has like 85 bears, but I would say that what we're known for most was we had the Kobe White PC, and now Patrick Williams has been our PC as of late. So that's who we go after right now.
Patrick Williams has been like, I feel like it's to the point now where we've shared, and if anyone looks at our Instagram, like right now, it's all Patrick Williams because I've been sharing like our big pieces.
I've noticed that when I've seen a lot of Patrick Williams. Tell me about Patrick Williams. Why him?
Well, we're Chicago fans. We have the most exciting thing that happened to us at the National this last time was that we picked up our first Jordan auto. So obviously we have a deep and abiding love for Chicago Bulls. And, every year there's, a new fun rookie to chase. And when you are a sports fan and you're passionate about your team and you collect cards, it's only natural that you're going to go after, your guy. And Patrick Williams, by all accounts, is who the Bulls think is the guy. So that's why.
For me, it was a personality thing. He's just like quiet and goes about his business, and oftentimes is told he needs to be more aggressive. Like there's something in him that needs to come out. And I just have appreciation. There's a lot of people who are loud, but there isn't a lot of substance to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
I just, on a personal level, I just gravitate towards somebody by all accounts who is a good human being, does things the right way, puts in the work, and is just kind of quiet going about it. And so it's also, it's a little more fun too, because as sports fans, we have these thoughts about who's going to be good, who's going to be bad, why and why. Well, with sports cards, you kind of throw it out there. You're showing who you think is going to be good, and it'll be a cool feeling in a couple years when it pays off. And I don't mean that in a literal sense because I'm not trying to sell it, but like when he becomes an all-star, people are going to look back and be like, oh, they were onto something.
Jeremy and Courtney knew what was up.
Yeah.
They knew. Here's the thing, though.
Or those guys, no wonder they're poor.
Jeremy and Courtney are they're all in on Patrick Williams. High or low, you are chips to the table, man.
It's hard with someone like Pat because he is quiet and he's reserved and he's not like boisterous. He's not like he's not like an Anthony Edwards where he's out there and he's funny and people are interested in him. He's not controversial. He's just like he's like a good player who's kind of quiet, and sometimes that doesn't always like equate to cardboard relevance. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of people that are tremendous ballers who just like nobody gives a crap about their cards. So that is a risk.
Yeah, we talk about, Cage talks about cardboard relevance, right? Relevance.
Yeah.
Relevance, cardboard relevance. That's just a real deal. I mean, but with the modern players, you could become relevant too sometimes, right? You can become relevant. That's the exciting part. Some of the older players, it's like, well, that ship sailed for the most part, right? So,
well, I also think too, it's easy for everybody to go out and buy a Cade Cunningham, right? I mean, that's just what the masses are doing. And so if Cade goes off to do something, there's nothing really unique about picking the guy that everybody else picked. And one thing, and I know you said you listened to the crossover some, is, and it was one thing that Chris had said that really resonated with me, is about being like one of the best collectors of whatever it is. And so we'd always collected, and we have a pretty diverse collection of like all the major sports, including MMA, boxing,
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
We have a weird wrestling
we,
collection.
we really dabble like that, but it's kind of a cool feeling too, to like, anytime Patrick Williams is brought up, we are tagged in it.
Oh yeah.
If a Patrick Williams card goes on sale or is put up somewhere, we're tagged in it a million times. Twitter,
People
Instagram.
send it to us. I always know. I actually was messaging with a guy last night because I occasionally will just go through, Patrick Williams hashtags on Instagram, and he had like a super cool collection. So I just was chatting with him, and he's, it kind of connects you to people that way, especially when you collect something specific.
okay. Do you have any Patrick Williams you want to show us?
Oh yeah, we brought all of them.
You brought them all. All right, let's start walking through them. We'll go through that 10 card, but since you've talked a lot about Patrick Williams and you're obviously notable for it, let's look at some of your cards.
Okay, cool. So I would say we'll go in no particular order.
Sure.
This was the horizontal NT RPA. No, it's not the vertical out of 99. It's actually out of 75. Picked this up in Chicago. And, it's a thick stock card. You got the 9. And this is one of those things where the grade to us really doesn't matter. Obviously, a 10 carries a premium. But it's just a nasty.
The patch is so sick.
The patch is awesome.
The patch is nice.
Like, it's got to be like the S from the Bulls.
Yeah. Then you've got like the flawless out of 3 again.
What an interesting autograph. It looks
Yeah.
like a
great autograph. He's one of my favorite autographs.
And the cool thing too is
he's very consistent too.
As we've moved up into bigger cards, it's allowed us to use some of the lesser cards as capital to move into yet even bigger cards.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have all sorts of stuff like the green. I know it's flux, and green isn't a very desirable color, but it's numbered out of 5, pop 1.
That's a cool
What
card.
would be desirable if it was like a Celtics card, but for the Bulls, nobody wants a green Bulls card.
And I mean, like stuff like this, I've only ever seen one other of these available, the Dragon Scale. Supposedly it's a print run less than 8. I know Burbank has one up on eBay for $900. Price doesn't matter.
It's cool though. I mean, it's unique. It's all about the rarity, right? That's when you collect cards. You want something unique. You don't want something everybody else has.
Now we're gonna get into all like the select animal prints. You got the elephant. You got the zebra.
And they're all pop 1, right?
Yeah, majority of them. And then we get like some cool and then we have like a lot of like I don't want to go through them all for the sake of time, but these are all like numbered out of 10 or less.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually picked up these two.
This one's actually got a funny.
We picked up these at Nationals, so it's a gold.
Very cool. Yeah, his autograph is very consistent. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And after buying this, I walked around and I found this. And even though it's in an SGC slab, again, we're about the card. We're not about the slab.
Yeah.
I actually like the optic more than the prism because of the on-card auto.
I know Prism is like the premium card, but
I don't understand.
Get it.
I think optic looks better.
I
know the hobby tells you different. I know the DeMarc it's gonna drive whatever. I get it, but and maybe there's people just like the Prism more. I think optic looks just the rated rookie. It grabs me because of my youth.
Yeah,
it just aesthetically looks better.
It.
Yeah, it just looks better.
And the optic out of 10 gold is on card auto, and Prism's a sticker.
On card all day. Yes, on card all day.
The gold fast breaks out of 10.
Jeez, look at those cards. You guys are all in on this guy.
I've been offering on the one of those on eBay, like thinking that the guy would be like, no, and then he like accepted it, and we got it. I'm like, oh,
Don't you love those surprise ones? You're like, I don't know if I should have done that, but who knows? If he says yes, victory. then they say yes. You're like, wow, I can't believe he must be desperate to get rid of that
I
card.
couldn't believe he sold it. Yeah.
So then we've got this. This is a gold vinyl, 1 of 1.
Love those gold vinyls, man. Those are really cool looking cards. They look like super fractors.
They really do.
They look like a super. They're like, I wouldn't say a poor man's super factors. They're still expensive. They just look like super factors, which are really cool.
So then we got this one, the NT 1 of 1.
Horizontal.
The horizontal.
Wow. Horizontal, schmorizontal, who cares? It's a cool looking card, man. Those thick, they just look great. The patches are what matter, right?
Yeah. So this is Courtney's favorite of the P. Will. And unfortunately, we've been buying a lot of flawless. You'll see there's like an absence of NT RPAs. We've gone the route that we prefer the flawless cards for the game used.
Yeah.
Jersey or patch or memorabilia, whatever they're throwing in there. For whatever reason, that means more to me than the NT where they're just throwing a Dick's Sporting Good jersey in there.
I think that's great. Go game used. It's all about game worn.
So this is Court's favorite card, and we got this about a month ago on PWCC. The Optic 1 of 1.
Again, the optic on
Black.
Wow. Yeah, that's such a better looking card. Look at that thing. That's awesome.
So we had gotten smoked like 3 weeks in a row. There was some true golds up, like BGS 9.5s. We put in a max bid of like 4,400 and we lost, and it went to like 4,500. Like 3 weeks in a row.
He was so mad. He was like, it sold for 45. I'm like, it's because you were bidding against one other guy and you two kept coming back and forth. So whatever your last bid was, like
that's what's gonna sell. Yeah.
It's gonna sell just above that because it wasn't like 10 people. It was you and somebody else.
Isn't that such a it's almost like damaging to your brain because you're like, wait a second though.
So mad.
If I keep going, it's gonna keep going up. But if I stop, it's gonna stop where I stop, and that's what would be the selling price. So it could be $1 over what I was willing to spend, but should I just want more because I was willing to spend that and I lost it for that? Man, it just confuses the daylights out of you.
So the 1 week, the first one that was up, I felt for a month leading up to that, or like 2 weeks, whatever it was, like we're getting that. And we had shows that weekend. It was a holiday weekend. We were in Cleveland for the Greenie show and then Shipshawana for the Bee show.
The same week.
And so we buy a ton. We didn't buy as much because we're all about fiscal responsibility. So we'd be damn hypocrites if we weren't following it, even though, we could go swipe the MX or dip into personal. So I pulled, there was a Justin Fields 1 of 1 that I still regret not buying.
I know, especially for the price.
And so we get to, and the card was hovering around like 1,500. So I'm like, oh, we're getting this. Well, we're at trade night and I just get smoked and it goes to 45. I'm like, well, there's one the following week. And there's surely not 2 weeks in a row is it going to sell. So we got smoked again. And then, so to get this one was truly awesome. It was like, a blessing in disguise because we got it for a little bit less, which is nice. And I'd much rather have that than the BGS True Gold, just from a preference. And then this one is my favorite. This is the Panini 1 in 1.
He likes the 1 in 1. That's probably his favorite brand.
Yeah. So that's the Panini and 1 in 1 RPA 1 of 1. Patrick Williams. This is my favorite. And again, the card is cool, but the story is cool as well. Somebody hit us up on Instagram and said, hey, I've got this card. I don't collect Patrick Williams. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, I want it.
Oh my God, I forgot this story. This is such a good story.
And I'm like, okay, how much do you want? Hey, Court, I'm like, hey, guess what just came available? We're going to make this happen. However, like, let's just do a fire sale. Like, if you see us do a story sale or something like that,
we're trying to buy
because you're trying to
there's something
you're trying to leverage. I get it. Yeah, you're leveraging.
Yeah. And the guy's like, I don't want money.
He didn't want money.
All he wanted was a Josh Allen on-card auto rookie card. So we spent 3 weeks traveling to shows, looking for these cards, taking pictures, coordinating a deal with somebody we didn't even know. Like, we had all the good vibes in the world, but there's still that little bit of doubt in the back of your mind.
Feeling, yeah.
So shout out to Dan. So ultimately, one day we made it to a show. There was about half an hour left in the day. It was like 4:30. Show closed at 5. And I found this Optic Contenders Josh Allen numbered out of 25 or 35. Snapped a picture. I'm like, would this card be it? And he's like, that's it. So then I worked with the other dealer, sealed the deal. We got the cards. We made the swap. And the rest is
So we
history.
were trading our cards because that guy, he was like, oh, money, but he wanted some of our cards. So now we're working out a trade and cash for this Josh Allen card so that we take the Josh Allen card and trade it for the P Will. And this is across like 3 states that this is happening for weeks. And then we finally made it happen. So
You think about that. He doesn't want money. He wants the card. That tells you that the hobby is very much okay. Look at all the things you had to do to accomplish that. Hobby is okay. It's a living organism, and it's alive and well. I think what's happened in the last couple of years is, you have the folks that just don't want to, that were just, you have to have an attachment, because your attachment that keeps you going is Patrick Williams, because like I'll trade, I'll go find whatever, I want those cards. That's the beautiful part about this hobby, is that, because anybody can make money and sell it, and who cares? I don't have any attachment to it. It's when you have that attachment, it's when you have that emotional connection that you're willing to, okay, it ends up in your hands. It doesn't really matter. One-on-one's my favorite. Doesn't, I just, to me, that's the essence of the hobby. And it's the essence of why I wanted to do this. I have 0 time to do it, but I wanted to do it because I love it. I love hearing these stories. That's the kind of story that makes you, I spent money on these cards. I still wish, not wish, but it'd be interesting. My wife's in here, $1,500. She would think that that's like out of your mind. And Courtney's over here. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. I'm like, oh my gosh. I couldn't imagine muttering those words.
I have things that I do, like that I'm like making a deal for something, and I'm like, I'm trying to comp something, and I'm like, I want to buy it so bad, but then I'm like, I always like it. You get so scared when you're doing it, like triple, like check yourself. At the end of the day, if it's something that I want, I'm gonna either trade for it or I'm gonna buy it, because we can, and we're lucky. And I know not everyone can. I know it's shocking. And the other thing you were talking about, like,
and when it's something you love, comps get thrown out the window. I don't need somebody to tell me if I want it. Absolutely. And I believe in it. We're willing to make the investment.
Right. I agree. And here's the other thing is people compare collecting to the stock market a lot. And you hear that all the time. And I that is one part that I never agree with.
No, it's not
like
stock.
It isn't. And here's why. Because I can buy and sell, Apple stocks. I can buy and sell stocks in anything. I am not emotionally attached to those stocks. I do not care. And the person who is talking to their investment broker and is buying my stocks that I'm selling is not like, oh, I need these Apple stocks because I love Apple so much. Nobody invests in stocks that way. And that's like cards is totally different, because you can, for whatever you're saying, you're not taking the emotion out of it. You're buying something because you're passionate about it. You're passionate about the player, the team. You're gambling. You're taking a bet that the guy that you believe in isn't going to go like be a criminal or something. So you have all of this. There's so much in it that it is a passion. It's passion.
Well, it's not stocks. They're assets. I mean, let's not lie. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to move all the stuff I've moved to buy the stuff I've wanted to buy. Even if that's at a loss, you're not getting anything back for most of these things you buy. But in the collectibles industry or in the hobby, you're able to get something back, or you have to pay taxes on that gain. Yeah, of course, you have to pay tax in general. Yes, but you can still recoup, where you cannot recoup at all. When you go gamble at the casino, you're out or you're in, or most of the time you're out, and you're not getting it back. So and then what you have in your hands, something you love, you enjoy, it's an emotional thing. So it's like actually the last 5 episodes of this show, we always end up talking about this. And I think we always end up getting around to the good store of value is what these things are. They're good stores of value. Now, if you have a good amount of your PC that full of cards that are iconic, that are important, it's even better yet, because then you got something to lean into. If you really need to get yourself out, you can sell a bunch of these cards, pay taxes on the money, whatever, but you're still able to pay down debt or pay off debt, whatever it may be. You can sell them, versus I just spent, $100,000 at the casino and I'm out, and I've got to find a way to just pay that off. I have nothing to show for it.
I don't even, me personally, I understand the thought process behind asset or good store of vehicle. For me personally, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me for this, these cards for us, like if we weren't spending the money on these cards, it might be at the movie theater, It might be on a big screen TV. It might be whatever. This provides us a level of enjoyment. It provides us an opportunity to bond with our family. But I view these as a vehicle. These are a vehicle that have created and cultivated dynamic relationships that if the cards go away, Manny is still going to be there. Cage and Ian are still going to be there. Sarah Layton, Christina are still going to be there. And so to me, these are just vehicles that sometimes we have a good day and we have a couple extra bucks in our pocket. And sometimes we go, damn it, Markel Fultz tore his ACL.
The day after we sold all of his cards.
The first time I ever never had to deal with eBay returns until Markel Fultz tore his ACL. So to me, if you can make money, great, more power to you. But they're vehicles for us, man.
I think it's really important too, because I don't think enough people talk about this, that it is gambling. It is. Some of these cards are definitely valuable, but when you're going and ripping wax and buying into breaks and spending your money on something that is, none of this is a sure thing. None of it. None of it. Even the best athletes, GOATs, can go and do something heinous, and then their cards might not be worth it. Even if they're retired. People were like, I'm not going to touch that with a 20, 30, 40-foot pole. So it is important to be responsible about it. And it is important to, like, we have a friend who has a gambling addiction, and he would buy cards, like boxes of like retail and anything he could get his hands on, and rip it like lottery tickets, like scratchers. That was like the mentality when you listen to him talk about it. And people do need to, like, I feel like that's an important conversation that people need to be having, because it like the house is gonna win.
Well, we're talking about it right now.
Yes.
And I think we've talked about a lot of this in this episode, which is great. That's what I want. I mean, I think it takes its own course. You're living it. These cards provide much more than any sort of monetary value that could be attached to them, to both of you. There is a lesson to be learned when it comes to being smart about how we spend money. I think the last few years has been a lot of money printed. The economy is now, it's being squeezed. Margins are being squeezed, and it's making it more difficult for folks to make ends meet. And I think some of these things like hobbies and cards, they tend to be more expendable. But the fun part about this stuff is that, okay, yes, they might be, and you need to make good decisions for your family always. And you need to do things the proper way and pay your taxes, all the stuff, do all those things properly, be above board ethically. But it is good to be a voice of reason when it comes to folks that may be struggling with addictions of all types. And it's a great place to talk, to table that conversation and have it. And but
well, DPZ, I would say this is a reminder for us. Anything can happen, because in Chicago at the time, youngest MVP, Bulls were unstoppable, going up against the 8 seed Sixers. And an ACL tear absolutely derailed this young man's career. And even though we have a lot of love for D Rose, it's always a reminder of that, just like that, things can shift. So, yeah, be responsible.
You gotta have to get back into, like, for me, I'm a Bo Jackson, Kobe Bryant, Ken Griffey Jr. And the notable role. I'm pretty confident. I know Junior should be good. I mean, you never know with anybody, right? Kobe's sadly gone. His market's pretty established. I think the riskiest thing I got right now is Mike Trout. That's it. And
good guy. I like
5 or 6 cards of his that are pretty good ones. But you have to know that you never know. This could just these. But I did my due diligence trying to make sure I was a bit more conservative in nature, so I wanted to make sure stuff I was keeping. Of course, Kobe and Griffey and Bo are like at my age. I'm 42. They're like they were it. I'm a Seattle guy, so that's what matters to me.
And then there's always the people like me who have like macabre collections. I have like all my murderer cards, like famous athletes who have sports cards who have committed murders, and I collect their cards because I'm really into like true crime stuff. So
that's cool. It makes you happy. I mean, it comes back down to that. You got to be happy with it. What kind of enjoyment do you get out of it? I mean, I kind of go back and forth. Should I even track my values in my cards and Car Ladder? I love Car Ladder. I love it, what Josh and Chris do. I mean, I've said this now. I'm going to sound like I'm sucking up too much here, but I do. I've had their product for a while, and I always go back and forth like, is this card worthy of being entered in there? This Bo Jackson card that's worth like $100. Is it really? Do I need to track this? Probably not. Right? Is it? Why? So that conversation always kind of comes up in my mind.
We track 0 values.
Oh, really? 0?
Yeah. I mean, like, we're very mindful. Like, there's the Patrick Williams flawless 1-of-1 logo man.
Mhm.
Like, we're monitoring that. Or there was a just an awful PSA 10 True Gold corners beat to shit that ended last night for like 2,300. Otherwise, if you were to ask me the values, like, I'm smart enough because we buy and sell enough cards that could probably be in the ballpark. But of the stuff that we truly cherish and keep, I don't know what the hell they're worth.
You don't know where it's worth. Doesn't matter to you.
I don't care.
Interesting. I like that.
You know.
Yeah, it's the argument I wrestle with a lot. You know. Okay, let's get to the fun part.
I was just gonna say, and then, like, because we buy in the offseason, we try to buy when things are as low as possible in the biggest deals possible. That there's typically there's upside, and we look at our finances a little different. We don't get caught up on individual cards. We look at it more macro versus micro. So at the end of the day, we might lose on one card, but if we make 5x on 5 different cards, it's
and we'll buy lots too. That's the other thing, is we buy like in bulk often, like from people who are just like, oh, I just need to get rid of all of these cards. We'll like, like 50 cents on the dollar for the value sometimes.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on what do you think card ladder is there a value for that? I mean, who should be using card ladder anyway? I mean,
I like card ladder. I like card ladder because when you sell at shows, you have people come up and they're like, oh, this card sold for this much. And I'm like, well, actually on PWCC last night, it sold for like $300 less than that. And that's actually the most recent sale. And like, eBay doesn't track those sales. If you're just using eBay or whatever, you're not like getting a full picture of everything. So we've
had a subscription to Card Ladder for 2 years now. You know what I mean? And so it is a tool because you have to be mindful, not only when you're buying something, but also you have to be able to spin the narrative of like why you can justify selling something. And we find ourselves in that position where you could argue this is a $500 card and all of your points would be valid, but you could also argue that it's a $2,500 card and all of your points would be valid. So in addition to that, you also have to be mindful of alt. There's a lot of people that walk around with alt and they let alt tell them what a card's worth. And so you have to be mindful with like Center Stage, Ludex, alt, 130 point. And so we're constantly looking at data of the cards that we're buying and selling.
We use all of the apps because I think it's really important to be making sure that you have a good, wide circle of like what people are going to be using to value their cards and yours.
More importantly, you're using as data points to help you with your sales and purchasing and decisions. For loading collections, like I use alt and I use Card Ladder. Alt for the stuff that's not in Card Ladder, and it kind of gives you evaluations, but I don't know where they're coming up with those. So yeah, maybe send me some of those links to the ones you're not 130 point, but the other ones that you're tracking values. I'm interested in those. I've never heard of those before. I'd love to take because I'm still going to be a geek and want to know what my collection's worth.
It's fun.
I only got like 45 cards that are slab that I could track. Then those are the ones I kind of like to watch go up, down, and kind of go, well, how dumb was I or how smart was I in some of these decisions? But I wrestle with it, and I think you make some good points there. It's great for for understanding decisioning on what you're going to buy, but from a PC standpoint, how many people put their collections in there? When you look at the PC showcase, it is interesting to see how many cards people actually have. It's just so different. That's why one of the reasons why I want to talk to people. I want to see what are people PCing? Like how big are their collections? How many are graded? What are they? It's just a complete Wild West. It's just everybody has something different. Which is really cool.
Like an entire rainbow of Dewdrop WWE Prism. Nobody has that. Nobody even cares. Like I can buy that. Like I could go on eBay and buy every single Dewdrop card for like probably less than $1,000 right now.
That's cool though. I mean, I like it. It's fun. All right, let's get to this question. It's a fun question. So you have to exit your property, your home, or at least where your cards are, the ones you have in your possession are in some vault, and you get to grab 10. I'm going to make it 10. Solid square 10. What cards do you grab after the kids and everybody are obviously secured and safe?
So I'm grabbing Butters, our 13-year-old Cavachon. That is my dog. I'm grabbing it before the kids and before Courtney.
I'd always joke that he's on fire and he can only save one of us. I better figure out how I'm getting out of the house because Butters is the one he's saving.
Okay. I didn't see that one coming. I wasn't prepared for that one.
This dog sleeps in the bed with us. He goes on vacation with us.
He's wearing a fancy sweater right now.
He's never been boarded. He gets Starbucks with us. That is my guy. And I will remain loyal to him until I figure one of us will pass and the other one will die within 24 hours of a broken heart.
That's so stupid.
So I can carry him like a football high and tight because he's about 20 pounds. So we're probably like 6 to 8 cards, really.
All right, 6 to 8 it is. 6 to 8 cards. You got Butters in one arm. You got the rest over here. Or maybe Courtney's making it out alive. Who knows at this point?
I might be
But
better for a pillar.
yeah, so I bet she's sounds like yeah. Anyways, you're grabbing 6 to 8 cards. What are you gonna take, man? What do you got? Show me what you're taking with you.
So I don't have it with us, but we would take
Sure.
the '05 Jordan SP Signature.
Got it.
That was just a cool card, not the most valuable card, but the story behind it with Bro Namath and the way that all transpired.
Whoa! You just mentioned my homie, bro. Yeah, tell me about the story. I want to hear the story of the card. That's the card you're taking. Tell me about it.
So he had the card, he had it, and we had messaged a little bit prior to National, and we've bought stuff off of him before, and I expressed like, hey, I might be interested in this card, and so we linked up that first day. Courtney had done the Woman of the Hobby. We did a live hobby night school, and we were looking at the card, and he came up and he whispered in our ear, and he's like,
he gave us a number that was like, you can't say no to this number.
Oh, he whispered, huh?
Yeah.
Bro did a little whisper.
Yeah.
Into our ear.
Yeah, he understood that I carried the tension in my traps, and he tried working it out. I was pulling me up because there was some talk about deadlifting, and I think he knows that I can squat more than him. So I think that.
Oh, okay.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first.
But we'll squat a little more than him. But he gave us a really, really good number, and so it was like one of those numbers where, under no circumstance are you going to say no. So we said, we've got a deal.
We also didn't intend to buy anything at the National. We were just going to have fun, look at cards, have a good time. That, like, I went in with like the full understanding that we were not going to be buying stuff like that. Just,
right.
We viewed it as a networking trip. And so cut a long story short, we then were like, okay, well, we're going to go. We're like, hey, give me a day. I'm going to go sell some cards. And, then we ultimately conceded that if we can't sell any cards, we'll dip into savings for this one, and we'll break our own rule. But, cards have to go on eBay right away.
Yes.
So we were able to, we moved out of a Luis Robert rookie card on Card Auto out of 10, a Justin Herbert. We sold some stuff, and we made the deal happen. Well, while the card was sitting in the showcase, somebody tried buying it for full sticker, which was thousands of dollars more than what he told us. So a testament to Brandon's
just being
his character. He pulled the card out, told him it wasn't for sale. I think it was in Vadim's case. Big ups to Vadim, and came over and put the card in my pocket.
We hadn't paid for it yet.
Yeah, those two guys. This doesn't get any better.
We love them. They're wonderful.
They are. Yeah, I don't even have. Yeah, that's just wow. I'm not surprised at all to hear that.
No,
Vadim and Brandon, they're just top shelf. So very, very, very cool to hear that.
So the card is dope, but the story's better because how often does somebody come like, hey, here's like potentially a 5-figure card, and he just throws it in your pocket. And we'll square up whenever. And we did. We passed each other drinking at like 3 a.m, and he's out doing his thing. We're out doing our thing. And then, the next day we linked up.
I can tell you the amount of anxiety I had hanging onto that card because I'm very much like, we have to, sell the cards that we're going to sell. Shout out to Mark too, because that black box was sort of what pushed us over the edge with the card. That was a fun National. I had a great time.
Yeah, we did a favor. This is a cool story. We did a favor for Mark's Card Shop in Downers Grove, Illinois, close friend of ours, and he had some redemptions. He made an appointment. So we went wearing, because he couldn't attend, Mark's Card Shop. We had all the stuff loaded in. And so he's like, hey, as a thank you for doing this for me, I want you to take one of them.
Because he had 2.
So we jumped on Instagram Live. He picked his box. We picked ours. And we got a Nikola Jokic, white box 1/1 rookie card.
Wow.
Shadow box.
Yeah. And so then somebody turned around and offered us an obscene amount of cash. So we sold that. And that's what, then we went from not buying anything to spending over 5 figures.
Yeah, because
we got National.
We got the Jordan, and then we bought all the P Wills. I think we
met Cousins Collectibles at the Borgata for drinks.
Yeah.
And I slipped like $20 in the machine, hit a couple grand, and then we put that money right back into the hobby.
Yep. Yep. And then I spent my whole time waiting for Stranger Things cards, which ultimately really paid off because I think they're selling the whole sets now for like $4,000. And I'm probably into mine because I left with 11 of the 17 18 cards,
Mhm.
and I'm only in like $900 on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. These are such great stories. Stories are the best. I mean, you have one card. Look at all the story that came out of one card.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. I mean, it's a good thing we're keeping it to 6 to 8. Yikes. I mean, the story behind that Jordan, I mean, you're talking about Bro Namath and the Deem, and that the integrity and fabric of those two gentlemen are just beyond anything else. And then the way you both have just navigated all your decisioning and using like these, you know, found these pillars, these foundations, and how you want to do it, but then, you know, making sure you're doing it right, the trust that goes into the hobby, how many people can win, meat on the bone, it just keeps going and going. Wow. I'm blown away. That's really, really cool.
So mine would be more than 10 because I would just like grab my stack of Stranger Things cards because I don't think I would be so sad.
That's
and
okay.
definitely more than 10 of them, but they're always stacked together. So
let's call it one. We'll call it one card for you. That's your one. Yeah, well, we can twist the, you know, we're hobbyists here, guys. We always bend and break the rules when we have to, right? It depends on what it is, right?
I would be so sad if I lost those. I worked really hard to get them.
No, you got to grab them. All righty. So that's 2. Let's call that 2.
And we would take these would be the 3P wills that I would take. And again, it's more so like the stories associated with them, 2 1-of-1s, and then the gold. We've got some Kobe White stuff that we would take, just because that was our first guy that we went in together. And, you know, we were buying kabooms and we were buying like galactics and case hits before. We still to date have hundreds of Kobe White slabs.
I have a
Prism gold.
I have a Mike Singletary scorecard that is probably worth like 50 cents, but I ripped it myself when I was like 10 years old, and I've had it since for like 28 years. So that one would definitely be going. And then that Kobe Bryant that we picked up on our road trip. We were like a romantic road trip, just the two of us to you know, the Blue Hill Mountains. Is that what it's called? I can't remember. In Georgia. And of course, like the degenerate card people we have to go card shopping, and we got that card, which was it was just I never saw one like it.
You know what we did without internet service? We brought up a table and we prepared 3 PSA orders. We found any and all LCS. We bought a ton of cards. So it was like buy cards, do what adults do when they're away from children, sleep, rinse and repeat for like 2 weeks.
It was awesome. It was so much fun.
So interesting. Like, talk to me about this Kobe Bryant though, because I'm a huge Kobe collector. Well, not huge.
It looks like a
keychain, and
it opens up, and it's like, but it's a card. He's gonna go find it. Give him a second.
Go find that.
I don't want anything bad to happen to it, and I'm like, I'll never sell it. I think the last one did like maybe $50 on eBay. It's not worth anything.
It's not a monetary thing, and that's an interesting topic because there's monetary value, there's sentimental value, and with PCs, a lot of the time it's sentimental value. Like you talk about that Singletary card, I've got, you know, a 90 Leaf Ken Griffey Jr. That's the only one that survived. That I put in a hard case back then, thinking it was so cool, but it was like a 90 Leaf. Who cares about that, right? But it's still the card that I thought when I was like 10, this is gonna be it. You know, it's like put it in a hard case, and it stayed in there, and I found it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually took care of a card.
Like the Super Bowl shuffle. I have a ton. I have a William Perry piece of the goalpost from the '85 Super Bowl.
Look at that thing.
Isn't that weird?
It opens up. It's it's an awesome card.
And you graded. I imagine you graded it.
Yeah, but it was more so just to protect it.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, that's really cool. And you got the story behind it. I mean, that's so cool. What a neat this is just terrific content. And every one of these episodes has been different with different kinds of content, but it's all been great, awesome stuff. You're learning, you're growing, you're I don't know. There's lots of the intertwining of the hobby community is very evident. Like that's in every part, right? You see it, you hear it, you feel it. And not much not much drama, if hardly any drama. It's all good stuff. Because that's the majority of our hobby is non-drama, right? I really do feel that way.
There would be, and I know like the Jordan gets a lot because it's Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time.
All time.
Fight me, Brandon.
Yeah.
Bro Namath, who you can't do a damn podcast anywhere without his name coming up. So And then the way the story transpired and the faith in somebody to do that makes for a cool story.
Yeah.
I would be
Remiss.
remiss if I didn't. There's hundreds of other stories we have like that of,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to say smaller, not dismissing the card, but just like, let's just say monetary value. We have so many stories like that and so many relationships that have been created as a result of very similar stories where,
Like that elephant card.
$5,000, $10,000 to Brandon, it might be the equivalent of like $20 to somebody else who does like a random act of kindness. And so we're very fortunate that, we've met some awesome people. Hell, my kid has a card from Cage. It's
Both of our
probably like
kids
a
do.
2012 Mookie Betts Prism PSA 9 that Cage was handing out a couple years ago. Like, blah, 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 blah.
Amelia's got a Kobe Bryant sticker.
My kid will never give that up. That's meaningful.
No,
and so
because he
that's
met
pretty awesome.
Cage, and because he's a hobby kid, Cage is like famous. So
And
like,
because every time he gets in Dad's car, he hears Cage and Andrew fighting. So
Yeah.
It's true. They're usually doing that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, those two are fun though. Yes, I get, what I'm hearing here and I'm learning from you is the hobby relationships, the community, and the experiences you've had have been not only bonding for you and your family, but have been very impactful and have been fruitful for you and your relationship, your marriage, all your relationships, your friendships. It helps with this nice balance in life with work. We're all busy. I learned that butters is more important than anything else on the planet.
I'm not lying. There's a portrait of him in our living room.
I'm not doubting you. You look very intense when you say that stuff, so I'm not gonna doubt you.
Loyalty's a real thing around here, man.
Hey, that's good, man. I mean, you're loyal. No, you're loyal. You're loyal to the dog. That's important. But just the community and the family aspect of it, I just think it's neat. The two of you do it together. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think it should be celebrated. I think there should be more of it. Of course, you can't force it. It's fine. I love my wife. She's amazing. Puts up with me and all my stuff. But you two are just really great you're inspirational when it comes to how you do it the right way and how you work together and you focus on the family. The family's, having 4 kids myself, family is like, that's the only thing that really matters to me, right? It's my children. It's not about me anymore. It's about them. I enjoy doing stuff, but it's really about, reinventing and investing in everything you do with them. So it's fun to do the hobby with your kids. My kid, he's 5, and my son, he loves opening cards. He's not as into it. He hasn't gotten everything just yet, but he loves it, right? My daughter loves Pokemon. So there's a little bit of that, right? The twins, I don't know what they're going to do yet, but it's cool. It's exciting. So I'm hopeful that, this hobby keeps growing and families start becoming more part of it. It seems like they are. And the market's kind of depressed a bit, which is allowing entry points for younger people, which is really, really critical for our hobby growing.
Like starts to reflect that too, because I feel like that's like how kids really get into it. So I hope to see those prices come down eventually too.
Courtney's for years has been doing a scavenger hunt, and we got a lot of participation from a lot of awesome vendors who donated slabs, packs of cards, hobby boxes to help get people involved. But
also group subbers and Ludex, like you can't it's a huge amount of people that come together and make these scavenger hunts for kids. Like anyone can put together. My kids will go to shows and you get packs, and again, anyone who's putting in the time to put together kids packs and give them free cards, like much love and props. But there's also often like cards in there that you don't want them. They're like second year like cards with some guy you've never heard of or whatever. So when we do it, we're putting together packs of cards that like kids will be excited. Like some of them are like expensive cards. And hobby boxes, we do free breaks at the shows for kids. And to us, it's really important that, this next generation, because frankly, if they can't afford it, if they aren't involved, if they don't like it, if they get ripped off, if they have bad experiences, they're not going to stay in the hobby. And if they don't stay in the hobby, all of our precious cards and collections aren't going to have a generation that's interested in buying them, when we're all older. So it's really important to us.
So when you trade with kids, let the kids win the deal, pay it forward.
Or at least don't rip them off, man.
Oh, let them win.
Let them win. But
I have, do you know how many Michael
off.
Porter Jr. cards I have from kids who just like, hey, that big dumbass over there he sucks. He has no idea what he's doing. And I'm just trying, because when we were kids, we had what were called pack perverts, or the people who weighed the packs, and they would always rip people off. And so we just want to pay it forward. And then I want to know, I'm long-winded, but we did all family stuff. We did the Christmas thing, Christmas lights, see Santa, decorate trees. But Sunday night, laying in bed, nuzzled up with PWCC, going in extended bidding.
And watching all of our eBay auctions end is so romantic.
That is sexy. Da-ding, da-ding, da-ding. We got a beautiful LeBron James last night, numbered out of 23. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing.
Man, we came full circle with this conversation. We started with how you showed your PC, Cordy, and now we're ending with the romanticism of laying in bed at night together. PWCC auction at your side.
You're going to be the first family of the hobby on OnlyFans.
Slabs,
$9.99 a month.
Oh, boy. Okay. Anyway, so you get $100,000. What do you do with it? You have to spend it on cards.
I was gonna be like, pay off my car and
no, none of that. None of those smart moves. What do you do with the $100,000? What do you buy? What do you do? Do you consolidate? Do you sell? Do you put something together? P-Will, what are you doing?
God, this is hard.
I'm getting the logo, man. I would get the logo, man. There's some soccer cards that I'd want. I want a really nice LeBron auto. Even though we're Jordan guys, we're Jordan folks through and through.
I've never had a Jordan Flair rookie. That's like, so I've always wanted
the Flair. You've had the sticker.
I've had the sticker. I want the actual. I've never bought one. I've had the opportunity a couple times. It felt like it was like at the peak when they were like just obscenely like so expensive for like a low graded one, and I just couldn't bring myself to spend the money on it. But if I had $100,000, I would get like a decently graded one. Not like the most expensive one, obviously.
Yeah, just something with good eye appeal. But that's something we face where it's like, hey, let's say we have $5,000 available. Do we buy this one card that we want and then not have inventory? Do we have to take the smart route of buying some stuff that's going to facilitate
it would
other
definitely
cards?
Be more $100,000 would be more stuff that like it would be instead of like one giant card, I could see us buying a bunch of like a lot of cards with that rather than just be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy this 100.
Actually, I take back everything I said. Give us like 10 minutes. We'd figure out a way to put the $100,000 out there for other people to enhance their experience and try to parlay that into some goodwill. And we're big believers in karma that somehow something good would come back our way. So
that is true too.
So I'd buy you something DPZ as you're rocking with this, and we'd get some kids something, and we'd hope that good fortune comes our way.
I would buy myself something too.
And Courtney would definitely buy herself something. What a dirtbag.
I'm not that
I appreciate your honesty.
That was a good pivot, though, Jeremy. That was a good pivot. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. We'll do this again. There's way too many things we could discuss. All the story. I want to hear stories. Stories are just great. Stories are what make you listen to these shows, these podcasts. Us yakking at each other doesn't necessarily do it, but the stories about other people, about the hobby in general, about the victories, the wins, the losses, how you've learned, all it's golden content. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. And we learned a little bit more today, and we appreciate you being part of the show, and we hope to talk to you both soon.
Yeah, man. In a time where there's a lot of negativity, we appreciate folks like you coming out here and sharing these stories, because we too love these stories. So congratulations. We're going to be rooting for you, and we wish you nothing but health, wealth, and success.
Yeah. Hey, man, I appreciate that. At Reckless Cards, go check them out on Instagram. Anybody have any comments? Leave them in the comment thread below, what you want to hear about, different kinds of questions. I think we covered most things today, but if you have anything you want to contribute, let me know. Again, thank you both for being a part of it. We'll talk to you soon.
With nearly 40 years as the most trusted resource for collectors, dating back to the first Beckett magazine in 1984, Beckett has been the brand that bridges generations of the hobby. We're happy to be partnering with Beckett and look forward to keeping you all updated on the big things happening at the company in 2023. Beckett, it's the name you know and the name you can trust.